Okay, our third segment today was Stanford Erickson. He's written a book called Mama's Boy Presidents, Why Do We Keep Electing Them? Before we get back into the book, which hopefully will happen today, let me just ask you, before we talk about Governor Scott, he's been on the show 14 times, really like the guy. I think he's got a great heart. He's willing to cut the budgets and stuff, but here's a guy who started off in deplorable conditions. With the projects, as he says, he lived in. His father was a delivery guy, and yet women just don't seem to warm up to him. I don't know if he can get reelected. What do you think?
Well, in this last election, of the women that voted, 56% of the women that voted for the Mama's Boy. Now, why do they vote for the Mama's Boy? Because
you referring to the presidential race.
Yes, because they're programmed. They program that Mama's Boy to think like and be like them. And so they can relate to the Mama's Boy. With Governor Scott, I believe he's a daddy's boy. I haven't studied that much. The only way, he has to learn to take on the feminine quality of his mother. Now, that can be done. Ronald Reagan had a wife. In fact, every great president that I studied had a very strong daddy's girl wife. I don't know anything about Governor Scott that much in terms of...
Are they back there, the quiet rudder that says, go a little to the left, go a little to the right here?
Absolutely. Now, if Governor Scott's wife is not a daddy's girl that will do that, he needs to take some person who has that feminine quality, that strength of what's useful on the feminine side, and integrate it into himself. He has to integrate it into his speeches. He has to integrate it into his body. He has to be comfortable with himself in terms of being a balanced person. He's probably a conflicted daddy's boy. Conflicted daddy's boys have difficulty doing that because they just feel that it's immodest. They feel that they're impolite. Boys don't do that. John Wayne doesn't do that. It's Jimmy Stewart that does that. Remember Liberty Valance, the movie? It's Jimmy Stewart that the women like. It's not John Wayne. He marries the girl. Now, can you change that? Yes, you can. But first, to change anything, you have to admit and accept what you don't have so that you can seek it. And I think, I don't know that much about Governor Scott, but I think he's trying to do what I think needs to be done in terms of our society. He's trying to get us to pay for what we've got. You can't always continue this debt.
He's trying to drive a lot more business here. No, the man's heart's in the right place. This I personally know from having met with him and having him on the show 14 times. But how can we – I'd like to help the guy out to get reelected. And I think if we don't, we're going to lose a good guy. I think we lost a good guy with who's the guy that just lost? Romney. He was a father's boy, and one thing I said, he needed to show more heart, and he didn't.
It's just not heart. It's if you look at their bodies. I was with Al Gore, and he was giving a speech, and Al Gore is a daddy's boy. And if you saw the back of Al Gore, it was like an iron rod was down the back. He was scared to death in front of the people. He could not relate to the people. He knew it. And it made him awkward. His body was awkward. And so you have to integrate. You have to deal with that part of yourself
like bringing out the artist. For instance, can I tell a story? It's a personal story. I went to Zimbabwe, Africa, and I was in Zimbabwe at Harare Stadium, at Chibuk Stadium, Harare, okay? And I was there singing for about 9,000 barefooted, mostly black people, okay? Now, this is a funny story. I was younger, and the preacher, they built a stand for the preacher, and he was a father of, I think, 9 in Petersboro, Virginia. Anyway, I went with his family. I was the singer. So I got up, and I sang. I sang some of my gospel songs, but I took my microphone, and I went over. They had, fencing. And all the little black hands were coming through, the children and the adults too. And I was touching everyone I could possibly touch as I sang my songs. So I ended up probably touching, hundreds if not thousands of little hands. Oh, then I was done with my music, and then the preacher gets behind that podium. Blah, 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 blah. And then he was done. Suddenly the crowd is yelling. And it was one of the greatest moments of my life. The crowd's going... The black minister there who was staying in his house, he goes, "They are calling for you." They're going, "Palmer, Palmer, Palmer." Well, you know what it was? It's because I touched him. Had nothing to do with whether it was the music or the preaching. He sat back there bombastically preaching at him. I went up and loved him.
That's extremely important in the 24/7 cycle of television and radio. If you're going to be a successful politician or a minister, you have to have that ability to reach out and touch. When I was with Ronald Reagan, he would give the same 15-minute talk at various stops. And I once asked him, because I've given speeches, and after 3 speeches, I get bored to death and I can't give the same speech. I have to change the speech. He would give the same speech. And I said, how can you make it so fresh? And he said, the people are different. I was concentrating on me and on my speech. He was concentrating on the people.
Let me ask you this. I went down to see Romney a few years ago, and I would like to know, I'm asking you as a journalist, a seasoned journalist, to tell me if I'm wrong here. Okay, so we were in the room. Maybe there's I don't know, 500, 900 of us, how many there are. And a young man was there towards the end, and Romney was on a box, and there were some dignitaries behind him, and all the other people are standing there listening to him. And finally he's taking questions from the crowd, and this young man says, I was experienced a roadside bombing, and he said, I lost my knees, the government replaced those, I lost this, I lost that, they sewed me all up. He said, but I lost all my teeth, and the government won't pay for my teeth. Well, Romney said, okay, young man, we'll talk after this, let's make sure we talk over on the side here. That was a good thing that he did, but I thought, as the showman that I am, or is it the heart that I have, if I was running for the presidency, I would have said, young man, first of all, we're going to talk about this after this, but if they won't cover it, I've done pretty well in life. I'll buy you a set of teeth. Am I wrong? I thought, man, that would have made national news. I mean, I would have think that the journalists would have grabbed it and go, man, this guy's got heart. Am I wrong?
I agree with you, but from Romney's point of he would think that would be immodest. I'm certain he has a good heart.
Grandstander. So I'm a grandstander. He's not.
No, it's you have the heart of your mother. He has the heart of his father. And the father thinks that's immodest. They will take care of you. And he probably did. But he does not want people to know how generous and decent he is. He thinks it's unbecoming to his manhood.
Having met Ann and interviewed them both, I know they were extremely the quintessential good American family. I was shocked they weren't elected.
Everything I read about him is he's a very generous person. What I wrote about Romney in the book is that he's a conflicted daddy's boy. He saw that his father did not get elected, and therefore he did not want to be like his father. And his father was this effusive, a bull in a china shop person who spoke from the heart. If Romney had more of his father, he would have been elected. Now,
so the very thing he feared kept him from.
Often the very thing that you fear in everything keeps you. I'm certain that Governor Scott, to some degree, fears being perceived as being too much like his mother or too feminine. He wants to be this stand-up guy, this man, this person in charge, and he has to understand you can do that in business. Daddy's boys run businesses, but politicians have to have that ability to where people can relate to them. So
you can charge a lot of money to these people who want to be presidents as a consultant. Well, you've gleaned a lot of information over the years.
Teach them how to be better. It's my fear is that we're just going to keep electing mama's boys. If we do,
why are you afraid of that?
Because they're going to, they want to take care of everyone. They want to become these secular messiahs.
What about a female? I mean, we're coming up close. If there was one female that I think is great, was what's the lady? England,
Thatcher.
Wasn't she a marvel?
She was a daddy's girl, and she was very fortunate. She had a husband that supported her and manned her up and made her feminine a little bit. The husband was very useful to him. My feeling is that we probably need a balanced woman who is a daddy's girl to get us right back on course again.
Would that be Hillary?
Hillary Clinton, because of all the suffering she's gone through, I'm certain she's more balanced than she was. And she's more balanced than her husband. And you've seen that when she was competing against Obama, you had a balanced woman, daddy's girl, competing against a mama's boy, and he beat her because he did not. A mama's boy can compete against a woman. Now, the first time Romney and Barack had their debate, what happened? Barack froze. Why did he freeze? Because he had a daddy's boy there, and mama's boys have difficulty competing with a daddy's boy. Mama's boy, and so then in terms of management, the downside of a mama's boy as a manager is because they can't confront, especially they can't confront a daddy's boy, because they can't confront, they dictate or they manipulate. Their management style is dictate and manipulate. And so Obama doesn't have meetings. I'm going to have a physical clip here. He doesn't want a one-on-one because Boehner is a daddy's boy, and he gets intimidated with Boehner.
As you noticed, the first contest that he had with Romney, his tail was between his legs.
That's what I'm saying. That's a mama's boy's reaction to a strong daddy's boy. That's now a balanced mama's boy like Ronald Reagan could take on a daddy's boy and compete, but they have to they have to man up. They have to learn to man up. President Obama has not learned to man up.
Got to take a break. We'll be right back. This is the mayor of the airways. Keep it right here, but we're back with Stanford Erickson. The title of the book is Mama's Boy Presidents. Why do we keep electing them?